Hey, this is Blake Chastain, and you're listening to Let's Talk About Text. It's a show where Scott Okamoto and I talk with our guests about what we're reading. That's the whole deal. You're up to speed. Here's the show. Scott, it's been a minute. How are you?
Great. It's great to have you back stateside. I kind of think you should have stayed in France just for your own sanity. But how was it?
Yeah.
Did you have any thoughts while you were in France about
It was
everything?
it was it was a really great visit. We were there to visit family and also do some sightseeing, and we had a really wonderful time. So I it's a beautiful part of the world, and it's probably complicated in its own ways, but it's
Yeah,
not complicated in the American way.
right. Since we always talk about food at the beginning, what was one of your favorite things you ate?
Um, there where we were was in like the Riviera area, and like there were bakeries everywhere.
Yeah.
And probably thinking I still think about a bite of a pain suisse. It's not like a pain au chocolat. It was like this other sweet like thing, and it wasn't even one that I ordered. It was something that someone else had ordered, and they gave me a bite, and it was incredible. And I wish I'd gotten it, and we never went back to that particular bakery. But I'm looking forward to the next time we
Yeah,
go
yeah, because you
because,
have
like,
family
yeah,
now, so you can
yeah,
go there regularly.
that's right. So like, I mean, the bake the bakery and
Yeah.
whether it's a baguette or like a pain au chocolat, like those were fantastic. And then there was a lot of gelato and other ice cream and things like that. So
Oh,
we ate very well.
oh. So I went to France in the year 2000. And
Mm-hmm.
and this is before like the food craze hit America, when Food Network kind of blew up and people started caring and about, they wanted good things. But in 2000, I went there and every night I would go to sleep smiling because I was going to get up and walk to the corner bakery and just get a baguette or a croissant to have with
Yes,
my
yeah.
coffee. And I realized I had never had good bread, I don't think. And I was just mad. Like I came home just like, "Oh, what is this? What we can't live like this." You go to like a
Ah, that's
nice
incredible.
restaurant, right? And they give you this like
Yeah.
dry dinner roll with a pat of butter, and you're like,
Uh-huh.
"I took great offense.
Yeah.
It can be so much better." And then
Yeah.
things progressed, and now most major cities have much better bread items. I think
Mm.
people, yeah, now they know what good bread items are.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, the baguettes and the fact that they're like made fresh every
Yeah,
day,
and they
like
can
that
only
is
have there's a law, like you can get a ticket if you put anything other than water, flour, yeast, and salt in your baguette. It can
hmm
only have four ingredients.
yeah. And they have competitions every
Yeah,
year of like the best baguette in Paris and other I'm sure they have other regional places that have similar things,
yeah.
but man, uh
Damn it, now I'm
it is
hungry.
really good. And even like uh just that even the coffee is different
Yeah,
because they tend to not do like drip coffee,
yeah.
which that's what I like. I I'm I went through a coffee snob phase. I sort of am no
Me
longer
too.
there.
Yeah, me too.
You know. Uh but like still like even something like that, something you have every day, uh having a different version of it, whether it's like espresso or americano or something else, um was was great,
Yeah,
and like where we were was very walkable, and that's always really nice because like we live in the suburbs now, and even though even though actually like our neighborhood is actually very pretty to walk in, it's not like a mixed use area. It's not a centuries old
right.
city
You can walk
that
to a
has
bakery or a cheese shop or yeah,
yeah. And then you walk another block, and then there's another bakery that's been there for decades, and
yeah.
you know, it's wild. And the water there, like we were in the Riviera area for most of our time, and the water there is just
The
incredible.
ocean water?
Um, yeah, the ocean, and like all of the beaches around were stone beaches. Like instead of sand, there were like tons of rocks. So you had to like wear aqua socks uh, to really swim in the water. But I mean, it's just beautiful. And sort of when my wife and I turned 40, we went on a trip to Italy to celebrate our birthdays. Um, because we're close in age, and we we went to the Mediterranean area then too, and I mean it just sort of confirmed that that's like one of our favorite spots. So
Hell yeah.
so yeah, it was a lot of fun, and really good to see family that lives far away.
Yeah.
So a lot of treasured memories. But also, glad to be back. Like that's the interesting push and pull, right? Of like it's really good to travel,
Yeah.
but it also feels really good to be happy to come back, you know? And even
Even
with
today.
yeah, even with everything that's happening, you know, at the large scale, like say the occupation of cities like the one you live in
Yeah.
DC
The
and
National Guard left now, so
oh, they did.
just a
Okay.
few days ago. So,
Okay.
yay. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
ICE is
So
still
like
here, but yeah.
yeah. So yeah, even that's the wild thing, right? Even with that all of these types of things, it's hard to sometimes hold it all in your head and in your heart that like you're thankful to come home, you're thankful to see the people and the places you love, uh, even when there's a lot that that is just awful happening around you, even if it doesn't affect you directly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, your travelogue is made me think of a different book to talk about later. But
Oh, really?
um,
Yeah. So, I mean, how has your couple of weeks been? Because I listened to the episode with Marla. It was great. I really enjoyed hearing the two of you talk about reading and about the books that you had selected. And like kudos to Marla. Like she dialed in on like your
yeah,
love of baseball
and being
and like
Japanese and like wow, that
yeah
was so on the nose.
yeah
Yeah, it's always fun talking to Marla. We'll
uh-huh
have her back because
yeah
she is a
absolutely.
fount of knowledge of reading and books, and just it's a fun person to talk to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, not much has happened here. We had a heat wave. Yeah, I not a ton. It's just life goes on
Yeah. No news
in
is
Los
good news,
Angeles.
sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a ton of music live.
Oh, that's great.
If anyone is listening from Pasadena or the LA area, Pasadena is becoming like a place for live music, and it never was really before. And so there's a record store that's been having these shows. They've got a little stage area. It's called Healing Force of the Universe. It's a great name. And
Oh, wow.
there's a little like dive bar that got new ownership a few years ago, and they've been having live jazz, and now they're getting all the best, like the world's best jazz players to come play in this little bar.
That's incredible.
I can walk to it. It's called the 1881, and
Wow.
yeah, and it's getting popular now because when it first started, it would be like me and like four people sitting there listening to these world class players, and now now they had to set up extra chairs, and it's pretty full most of the nights they have it. So
Okay, yeah. So I know you've talked about music books,
yeah,
and I know you are a musician and you have a lot of friends in the music industry.
yeah,
But somehow we've like the two of us have not really talked music. But I also like love jazz.
yeah.
And like so like what are some of your like favorite what are some of this will be a two-part question.
Oh, okay.
What are some of your favorite like, all-time or the types of jazz music that you revisit a lot? And then building off what you're talking about in the scene at the 1881, what's the sort of coolest uh, musician or group that you've seen
Oh yeah.
at that
Oh gosh.
venue?
Um, I went to college not knowing a lot about jazz, um, other than like Sting having like Branford Marsalis play and that, and he basically stole Miles Davis's band to make that first record in
Oh wow.
1986 or 85. Um, but when I declared English major my sophomore year, my school just happened to land a writer named Quincy Troop, and I think I've talked about him before. He wrote the Miles book,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because
He is the he wrote it with him
yeah,
or
yeah,
like
he basically
yeah.
lived with him for like 3 years, captured his voice, and
Mm.
then wrote it as if he was Miles. That's how he did it. Um, and because I was like the only Asian in his writing workshops, it was mostly white kids. It was almost all white kids. Um, he kind of took me under his wing, and um, I wrote. There's an opening scene in one of the chapters in my book where he's this 6'4" dude with dreadlocks, and he wore like long flowy clothes, usually like purple and shiny. These cool sunglasses, and he created a wake as he walked through like the student center.
Yeah.
And that guy would come up to me and like take me to his office, and we'd talk about writing, and we'd talk about music, and he would tell me all about Miles Davis. One time Miles called or had left a message when I walked in with him, and I just heard Miles's voice just say he had a thing with his throat. He couldn't talk in a full voice. I forget what happened, but he just heard, "Yo, call me back," on his answer machine, and I was like, "Was that Miles?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll call him back." Oh shit! Like, wow, I don't even remember what I was gonna say, And so, um, having read the Miles, he of course he made us read his book for his creative nonfiction class, and so I
Yeah.
became
That's
a
what you do when you're a
yeah,
professor, right?
yeah. Got built-in audience. I mean, there's only like 12 of us, but um, that book just was a revelation of jazz history and race in America. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I immediately started learning about and getting into jazz. At the This is the era when used CDs became a thing, and I would go to like used CD stores and just buy up all the $2 and $3 and $4 jazz CDs of all the classics. And so, yeah, I can always go back to the bebop thing. The
Mm-hmm.
60s and 70s, it got a little experimental, but I like some of that. Um, and I love the whole Marsalis family is amazing. Branford and Winton and Delfio um, and the people that play with them are sort of my heroes from the 90s. Um, so today, at like the 1881, there's a guy named Katis who plays flute and sax. If you've seen Anchorman, his claim to fame is the first Anchorman where he plays jazz flute is actually this guy Katis playing,
Oh, really?
and yeah,
Oh, he's the person who actually
he
plays Will
played what Will
Ferrell.
Ferrell is
Yeah,
mimicking,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
miming. And he always has like the most amazing musicians wherever he plays. He usually plays in like big clubs, like there's one called the Baked Potato here in L.A., which is kind of a legendary jazz club. Most of the legendary places have closed, and so to see this
Mm-hmm.
resurgence of live jazz is great. And if I can walk to it, it's like a 15-minute walk, but so players like that. And a good friend of mine is named Chris Wabich, Wabich, uh, is a drummer who's played with everyone and any major jazz person that you can see at the CD store, the record store. Do they still
Mm-hmm.
have the? There are record stores again.
Yeah, I mean they do have definitely have record stores.
Um,
Yeah,
he's played with them, and
that's
he's
awesome.
an amazing drummer. And yeah, I just like going, sitting there and getting my mind blown, like watching just a few feet from these guys taking solos and improvising. And these guys are so good that they don't rehearse. They'll
Mm.
just say, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
got a gig at the 1881. Can you play bass? Can you play drums?" And then they show up and they huddle for like a few minutes before they play. And they go, "I want to play this tune. Okay, yeah, what key? Yeah, which version? Okay, yeah, I know that." And then they just play it, and then they kill it. And you can see them looking at each other in certain transitions, like, "Oh, well, are we going to? Okay, yeah." And it's like live without a net, and
Mm-hmm.
it's visually as well as orally an experience to see these guys do their thing together. And then they finish a
Right.
song, and they always finish together, and then they look at each other like, "Wow, that was cool," and like to bear witness to that, it's something you can't capture on a record or on a recording, right? It's like this in
Right.
the moment,
Yeah.
perfect thing
Yeah.
that you get to witness. And so, sorry, I
Yeah.
went on a long-winded rant about jazz, but
Oh no,
that's
that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted, Scott. That was
so the
amazing.
next
Cause
time you
like,
come out, man, I'm gonna take you to this bar and
yeah, absolutely. I love that. Cause like, I mean that like a lot of what I had a friend that got started getting me into jazz like 15 years ago. It was a friend from church, like to bring, some of our background into this. It was a friend from church that like got he was into both jazz as well as like some other more like experimental or harder to access types of rock or
like
indie,
Prague.
sort of stuff. Yeah, and like, I I don't have like a ton of examples to pull from off the top of my head from that side of stuff. But like he introduced me to like say like Dave Brubeck.
Yeah,
Like timeouts and he was the first person to sort of talk through, like why, timeout being in 5/4 is like sort of it's got this drive to it because like each measure sort of leads into this next one because of the fact that there's this extra beat that we're not used to
yeah.
because we're so used
Well, and he
to
did the famous
four
Take
four.
Five.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. 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 That particular song, right? It's in 5/4, and so like that, like if you like dial in on what the drummer's doing on that hi hat or not, it's not the hi hat, but it's one of the cymbals, and you can,
yeah,
anyways, like all that sort of stuff. Like he helped me appreciate that, and like Emily had, uh, introduced me to to vocalists like Billie Holiday.
yeah,
But then over time, as like as I just, entered my career and I didn't have I personally like when I'm at work or something, I can listen to something and I can either listen to something I know really well already, or I can listen to something with like really minimal singing, like,
yeah.
or words, because I can be, pulled into that, and that'll break my
Yeah,
concentration
totally.
if I'm trying to do something. So like jazz actually became this thing I listen to a lot. But like I've never really watched much live. Like there have been a handful of things, but now, like over the last 5, 10 years, getting into like you know, people like Miles, as well as like the Bill Evans trio, like Waltz for Debbie has been like a big something I've been playing a lot over the last year, and that's a really well known album.
Yeah, Bill
And
Evans
like
was
Scott,
huge. Yeah,
yeah, and like Scott LaFaro, who was his, I've talked about like screwing around on bass for like worship team and stuff, but Scott LaFaro was like this incredible bassist that played on Waltz for Debbie and a couple of other albums, and um, he died in a car accident when he was like 26. So like so it was he had this really short life, but he actually left this crazy amazing um discography. Like it's not the longest, but like some of his bass lines on like on Waltz for Debbie and some other stuff are just incredible.
yeah.
Um and so like now I'm trying to learn a little bit more about what, the newer artists and things like that, like Kamasi Washington and
Mm,
others.
yeah.
But I'm sort of like it's like a total different genre,
Oh
and
yeah.
like
Not commercial.
there's
You won't hear it on the radio. Influencers aren't talking about it on TikTok. Uh,
right,
it doesn't
right, but
exist almost.
right, but to your point, it like I am I 100% believe you that like seeing it live is almost like watching live sports,
It is.
like
Yeah.
it is seeing seeing someone that proficient in whatever they're doing, like doing it in concert, literally in concert with other people, is is fascinating. And so I'm sort of ruing that we never went to like the Green Mill Lounge, when we lived close to there.
Mm.
We tried to go a handful of times, and every single time there was something that was a conflict or something fell
Is it
through.
not there anymore?
Oh no, it's
Oh,
there.
it's
I
there.
mean, it's
Oh, it's far from you now.
Green Mill Lounge is in Chicago. It's like a famous jazz lounge, and it also was part of like they've got some like speakeasy prohibition era stuff uh as part of their history, and
Yeah.
they still have live jazz there. But the other thing is that they're really close to a couple of other larger venues. It's a smaller club,
Okay.
and like sometimes if you have multiple shows happening, uh, and like you're trying to drive and park nearby,
Yeah,
you're sort of
it's a
shit
nightmare.
out of luck.
Yeah. Oh,
But but anyways, yeah, like jazz so uh is so cool, and like it's one of the clear American contributions to culture,
yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Like jazz and comic books and like you
Yeah.
know like uh and I don't know, like modern computing.
Yeah.
like there's a handful of things that 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 took place here in the United States, and like we we are watching the Ken Burns jazz
Oh, it's
documentary,
so
like,
good. Yeah.
but we're taking our time, you know,
Yeah.
because each episode's like a movie. It's like a
Yeah.
2 hour thing. And Wynton Marsalis is one of the talking heads in that.
Right.
And like the passion with which he like talks about jazz is like contagious. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
so powerful.
He's great at classical too.
Yeah.
He's a talented guy. Um,
Yeah.
and we've talked about music for 10 minutes, but this is on brand for us because the whole point of this podcast is to give people a little escape. And
That's right.
um,
Yes,
and if
absolutely.
you're listening and you're like, I don't like jazz, it's weird. There is weird jazz. Don't get me wrong. There's some pretty out there. It gets a little spacey and odd in the '60s and '70s.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
can find that sort of like weirdness, but
Yeah, don't like go to like Sun Ra or something for your first jazz
right.
album.
Because so like the last time Go, who was on this podcast, he and I we were neighbors, so we'll walk up there, and there
Hmm.
was this group of guys. There was this keyboard player, an old guy, old like maybe he's like late '60s, and
Hmm.
he had his own he had an arrangement. He just started playing, and the other guys just sort of joined him. But it was this ballad, and he played this progression, and it was so beautiful. It was like one of the most beautiful musical things I've ever heard in my life, and I got a little tear in in the corner of my eye, and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to be that guy crying in a jazz club. And I look over at Go, and he's like tearing up too, and we're just like, I don't want this song to end. It was hitting us like right dead center in the heart. And this
Yeah.
wasn't like it was just it was just music. It was just beautiful. And you could tell like the other guys in the who he was playing with were just looking at it like just shaking their heads like wow, because there's
Wow.
moments in these shows where someone will like do a crazy riff, and and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's just like woo, and you see the other players be like, whoa, that's smoking. But this was slow, and the chord changes were just so unique and beautiful, and it just struck a chord in everyone there. And I think there were several people who got a little misty, just like that's
Mm,
powerful.
that's
That's
amazing. That's amazing.
yeah.
That's so cool that that you all had that experience. You know, everybody in that audience.
Yeah, so jazz is
You
actually
know.
more accessible, I think, than people assume if they don't know it, because movies do a terrible job of making jazz that weird music, and sometimes
Right.
TV. And like I said, that's out there, and some people like it. But from where I sit, you mentioned Bill Evans, you mentioned Kamasi Brown,
Washington, I
Washington,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Very accessible. It's groovy. It's a little it's a little R&B and hip hoppy at times. And not Bill Evans, but some of the more modern jazz people out there. There's a guy named Robert
Right.
Glasper. Is a good starting point for people. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And like, and like bossa nova from Brazil is like super easy listening, so like
yeah,
It's so there's all sorts of like entry points.
Yeah,
You don't have to like go for the hard stuff,
yeah,
like the hard to access sort of stuff.
right.
Uh, and like yeah, you have to be in a certain mindset to do that.
Yeah,
And that's fine. Like that's the same is true of a lot of
yeah,
genres. Like
yeah, yeah.
um so yeah, and like I mentioned that the Ken Burns documentary. There was another one um that I watched recently. Louis Armstrong's Black and Blues. Have you
I
seen
have
that
not
one
seen that.
or heard?
But yeah, Louis Armstrong
It's on.
is one of the pillars of modern jazz. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and like it's on Apple TV Plus and Prime.
Okay.
So
Oh,
like
sweet.
it's on both of those platforms, but like really fascinating because one of the things that I thought was really instructive about that is that well, like first of all, like Armstrong was just instrumental in developing American popular music.
Right.
And that is clear from this documentary, from the Ken Burns documentary. Like there is a before and after.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
uh
For sure.
and that is really interesting to see. This one sort of dials into his experience as a black man during this time and the ways in which he navigated very very difficult and discriminating and racist
Yep.
places.
Yep.
Um, and also it sort of looks at the way in which he was perceived even by other members of the black community.
Right. Miles Davis
Um,
hated him.
yeah, and like and the interesting thing that I didn't know until I saw this documentary, and like certainly watch it and draw your own conclusions. But one of the interesting things was like he actually recorded a ton of just like audio journals. Like he had a reel to reel thing in his house and he would just record his thoughts on politics, on other musicians, on all these things because he was like I know people are going to examine my life and I'm going to have a say in this. Like
Hell yeah.
and so like he doc and like he would also have people over and have conversations. So there's this whole
Whoa.
archive of shit that he recorded himself. And he would also write letters to people all the time. And so even though like a lot of the younger generations that were coming up in the 50s and 60s and they saw the way that he acted in a prior era being a when they were you know agitating for necessary changes, they didn't like they drew conclusions that are
Right.
understandable, but like
Right.
he was navigating things in his
Yeah, he
own
had to be
way.
that person that developed that smiling persona
Yeah,
just
yeah. So like
to survive. Yeah.
so it was a fascinating documentary, but it shows the way in which jazz is a really cool way to look at the history of America, especially
Right.
20th century
Yeah.
sort of forward,
I noted
because
that
that like
about the Ken Burns documentary as well.
yeah,
It's like a
because
history of race uh, and
yeah,
art.
yeah, it really is. So like so yeah, I know this is ostensibly a book podcast,
Yeah.
but we haven't talked for a few weeks,
Yeah. And we don't
and
have
this is
guests. No one's sitting here waiting to talk. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So if this is your first episode,
yeah.
this would be an interesting one. But uh, it's fun to go on this long 20-minute tangent about
Yeah.
music we both love.
And if it's your first episode too, you know, I just thought we could break down what we've experienced thus far. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I came into this, and you pitched this idea to me like a fun, just talk about books. And, it's you and I are known, if we are known in other circles of deconstruction and religious
Hmm.
trauma and things. So yeah, hell yeah, let's just. And I was really cognizant of the fact that I'm a former professor, and most people don't like listening to professors because we tend to be boring. We tend to be uh, make everything that should be great into something like a punishment, and so if you go back and listen to the first few episodes, I'm trying really hard not to be a professor. But then Dave Lester really brought me in when he brought in Hemingway, and he kind of awakened something like. Oh shit! Like I do like literature. I don't read a lot of literature anymore. My bookshelf is all pop culture, nonfiction,
Yeah.
some novels. Um, and then talking to Marla, I realized there's a place. I don't want to go full professor, and get a lectern and a whiteboard and start like giving a lecture. But I do like the idea that we've covered so much ground and that we can connect, classic literature and the debate of what's in the canon of American or Western literature to whatever we're reading, whether it's comic books or books about guitars. I think
Mm-hmm.
there is a place for all of it, and I'll. So I'm not gonna, like I said, not gonna go full professor. So don't hit stop. I'm not gonna
I never
not
would.
gonna
You're
do that.
fascinating. You're
Um,
fascinating,
but
Scott. So I don't find you boring at
oh,
all.
thank you. Like some of my students might disagree. But I think there will be times when I do pull that up out of the bag and give a little bit of a literary analysis to what we're talking about because like our whole talk on jazz and the history of it, it's not just literature in a box. Literature exists in historical, social context, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's great to be able to tie these things together that affect our lives, whether it's the history or the politics or the anthropology.
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
in my mind. It's all connected, and so I will not be afraid to pull the professor out for just a little peek here and
Yeah,
there.
no, I love that, and absolutely, I want the Professor Scott to come out. That's awesome, because I mean, I don't have that background. I never like
You were an English
I
major, I
never
know that.
what's I was a writing major,
Yeah,
yeah.
me too. Writing
So
and literature
so
for
like
me.
so I have that, but I don't have the the professorial experience, and that is a very specific and awesome lens and skill to have, and so I you know I think it's great. Like uh so so I'm excited, and I'm glad that over the last few episodes have really opened that part up for you, because I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I promise I won't talk about grammar or um,
I'm sure it probably wouldn't, like the sort of viewership and listenership we're shooting for. I'm sure they wouldn't mind.
oh, okay. I'm not going to bring like
So
White and Strunk into to as a
okay,
book
all right,
to read.
good. I
Um,
mean, I actually do have that within this room somewhere.
it's a
I
classic.
literally I literally reshelved that today. So
Wow. All right.
so you're in good company.
Yeah, yeah. We're
Um
all nerds here. It's fine. It's
yes. Uh
so
yeah.
how's it been
So
for
like
you? These first. This is our 10th episode.
yeah, it's been great. I the fun thing is that, like, we tell people to come to talk about at least one book, right? Like that's the minimal instruction we give people is like we need them we on a standard show, we have at least four people, and everyone goes around and talks about what they're reading. And that's the only requirement we have. And I've loved the variety that we've seen of our guests coming to talk about different things, because like it's it is really really cool to hear other people talk about something they're passionate about. Like that is the thing that animates me a lot of the time, is like when you see someone that is really really passionate about something, um, then that sort of eagerness is and enthusiasm is infectious,
Yeah,
and so like um and the thing I love about books is that they do have and it is true about music and about movies and other forms of art as well. But speaking for myself, like books are the vehicle which sort of like expand my world
yeah,
in a way that maybe for someone else it's music, or movies, or visual art, or whatever it might be. But for me, it's reading and like, being able to like inhabit someone else's perspective in a way uh that for me is not accessible through other forms of art. Um and so it's been super fun to hear people come and talk about a book for however long it is and then see where the conversation leads,
Yeah.
because that's the fun thing is that we always have this really short prompt, but then we end up talking about all sorts of
Yeah. It
things.
takes us a lot of places.
And that's really fun. And I think uh, the point is for this to be more fun than anything. And I think it helps. It's restorative. For speaking for myself, just having uh, a little bit of levity goes a long way.
It
you
does.
know,
It's healing. Yeah.
uh,
And what better way to get to know someone than something, having them talk about something that they're passionate about, that they're really
right,
into. Um,
right,
yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I've had a blast, and it's been a lot of fun to do this with you because like we do have some overlapping network, especially around the deconstruction area and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But but like it's fun to see the groups of people that we're able to connect with, and
Yeah.
like that's really cool. And hopefully, like as we continue to do this, that just continues as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, so
because
like my good
it's been
friend
a
Priska,
blast.
who I've known for like 10 or 12 years, and we do a podcast together. She's not any remotely tied to the deconstruction evangelical world. She's starting to be, but like getting to
Uh huh.
introduce you to her to me is just like just bringing the different circles of my life together. You're all really important to me and have played
Yeah.
roles in my life, and so like the idea that I can bring them to you all together and get to know people I've never met. Like people
Right.
that who you'll bring on that I've never met or never even heard of, in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
But we get to like establish this bond over the things that we like to read, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a powerful thing. And if you're listening, we want you to come on and tell us,
Yeah.
join the group.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very low barrier to entry, and honestly, even though I haven't even uh taken advantage of this, but honestly, even if it's not a book, technically the title is Let's Talk About Text. So if you come across like a really great long form article that sparked your imagination or
Yeah,
interest or
a
whatever,
poem.
a poet, yeah, that like we I would love to hear and talk about that because it's fascinating, and there's so many different worlds uh of people writing and sharing things, whether it's fiction or nonfiction or comics or manga or articles. Like there's so much out there, and it's so fun. Uh, and like and yeah, there are things, and that's not to say that you can't talk about a serious book either.
Yeah.
I've got a book that is definitely like critically acclaimed, and it's sitting on my shelf, and I'm working my way towards reading it, which is like One Day Everyone Will Have Been Against This, which is about the genocide in Gaza.
Oh yeah.
And that one's, I know it's a short book, and it's sitting on my shelf, and I know I need to read it, and I may one day talk about it on this show.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, so like we you can talk about serious stuff too,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah. No, it's important to have a range. You can't appreciate the
yeah,
fun, lighthearted stuff if you don't also appreciate the hard stuff. And so,
yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, bring it all.
yep, yeah, yeah. So any other thoughts about like the first handful of episodes? Yeah, I think you're right. This is episode 10 that we're recording right now, not counting our intro episode
Oh,
that we did
okay.
as well.
Yeah. So no, I'm just happy to be doing this. I'm looking forward to talking to more people. Um, there's a lot of books out there.
Yeah, Yeah. Uh, yeah. And we've contributed a couple, the two of
Yeah,
us. So,
yeah,
and I and uh, one thing we haven't really talked about is like the sort of writer and reader sort of aspects
yeah.
of life. Um, how how is that sort of like? Do you have a regular writing routine right now, or is there are there just other demands on your time? Because I know that you've mentioned in other episodes that like you're working on a couple of ideas and stuff.
Yeah, I don't have a routine. I tried to do the artist's way, like everybody
Yeah.
has.
Hmm.
And that doesn't work for me. I never have writer's block. So the way I work is if I know I want to write something, I'll block out time, um, and just sit down
Hmm.
and do it. And, in concentrated chunks of hours of time. I'm not as good with just waking up every morning, get your pages in, and um, like I tried that, and I found most of it unusable. uh, it was fine, and
Yeah.
I appreciated the practice. Like our friend Brad Onishi's doing. He's writing another book right now, and
Uh-huh.
he gets up at like at the butt crack of dawn every morning because he's got little tiny kids. He's
Right. Yeah. His kids are
and
real
so
young.
the only time he has, he has to be very organized. He's a busy guy, and I get that. And so I'm not. My days are a little more fluid. I have deadlines of writing music and recording music and editing other people's podcasts. But
Uh-huh.
if I need to carve out space, I can. And so
Gotcha.
it's
Yeah.
not as important to have like a regimented schedule. How
Right.
about you?
Yeah. Um, it depends on the sort of it sort of depends on the season, but right now, over sort of over the last basically since like 2025, I haven't had as regimented of like a schedule. And part of that is my book came out in the fall of 2024, and there was, leading through to the end of 2024 and then early 2025, that was still sort of book promotion period, and that's sort of, and you'll hear different things from different people in the publishing industry, but a lot of times they think that like 3 to 6 months is like sort of like your launch window, and then the world kind of moves on.
Yep.
I don't know. It's hard to like keep that momentum. Um,
Yeah.
and and my day job is political communications, uh, and so that's been sort of draining. Uh,
Yeah.
and honestly, I think it was when I sent you my pitch for this show to you, I was in a hotel room in DC in January,
Oh.
like shortly after the inauguration.
Ugh.
So like
Yeah.
uh, so the last the last several months are not representative of what is often the case. Like often I try to be more regimented around writing for my newsletter or working on some other project. Um, but like uh, I've I've sort of been in the space where, well, I'm not entirely sure what I'm what I want to say or write about at this point that I didn't put into my book. Um, and so it's sort of a fallow period in that respect. But I think the the tides are turning at least internally, so hopefully, and but I do try to see things more, seasonally and not like just be all productivity all the time. Uh, that that outlook doesn't really help me. I think,
Yeah.
and also like I mean, I in my early career excuse me, I got shingles when I was like 31
Oh.
from stress,
Yeah. Oh. Oh. Geez.
you know? So like, so I've learned to like try to avoid stress and burnout. Um, sometimes to my probably to my detriment,
Yeah.
but also not to my,
Oh, yeah.
so, so it's, so right now is I don't have like a set thing. Um, but I'm, anticipating getting back into a more regular rhythm. But
All right. So
yeah,
we both have
we
more
haven't talked to
things to write. So
what's
we
that?
both have more things to write.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trusting that I have other things to say.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So we should talk a little bit about at least something we're reading right now. So what are you reading at the moment?
Well, right now I'm reading two books that I'm probably not going to talk about because I'm reading them for my podcast, and
Oh, okay. Yeah.
one of them, one of them I really didn't like, and so I don't want to get negative. But
Okay. Fair enough.
I'll tell you off air because it's a funny story. But your 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 whole talk about food in France, it reminded me that one of my favorite books that I have read a few times. It's by Peter Mayle called A Year in Provence.
I've
Okay.
heard of it, but I haven't read it.
Oh my god! Like I read that in like college in like the '90s, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just one of those books where you just, if you like food, you're just gonna smile the whole way. This guy is such a good writer. He's like a, I think he's British. He's like a, from England, and he goes to Provence, which is a region in the south of France, known for its wine and its food and farms. And he just lives there for a year, and it's literally just like a memoir of that year. And the way he documents like the people in this town, the the meals that they prepare, you talk about escape from like reality. It's amazing. I think
Mm-hmm.
they made a TV show or movie about it eventually, but I never saw it. I never wanted to. The book is magic. You read the, and it just made me like hungry all the time because
Oh, really?
the things that he describes of the ingredients, the things they pick from the farm. There's a pig that goes and finds truffles. Um, it's it's just so great. It will make you angry at your refrigerator because it does not contain this food. That sounds so amazing. Um, but it's, yeah, he's a great writer. He captures the people of this town. In contrast, it's a little bit probably, I have to read it. It's been a couple years since I read it, but probably about 10 years now. Like it used to be a thing I would read all the time, but um I want to pick it up again because man, we could use the escape. Um but I think I heard some criticism that it was a little bit classist, or before the eat pray love thing, is it sort of exotifying actual people from a privileged point of view? I don't know. I need to read it again. All I know is that it's an amazing little jaunt that just makes you think about goodness and
Mm-hmm.
beauty and tasty food, and a celebration of life in a region of the world that just moves slower than we do in big cities that we tend to live in. And even small town USA is runs faster and more complicated than sort of this this life in Provence. So highly recommend. I couldn't find my copy because I realized I've owned three of them, but I've given them all away. I just, so it's like if I meet someone that's really into food or travel, like I would just give it to them. So I've bought it many times. I think I have to buy it again to read.
That's awesome. That's really interesting. And I'll have to look that up because I love books with like really uh just really poignant sort of descriptions of things. So that sounds awesome. Um for whatever reason, I don't know. That this is just the way my brain works. I wasn't planning to talk about this book. It was actually it's actually a comic series that came out a while ago. And it is a complete series. But I'm just building off of like the food angle. It's actually this series called Chew, Chew. And the main character in the book is this he it's this sort of near future world, and and the setup, the world building setup is that like some version of like uh some sort of virus like chicken not chicken pox but like chicken flu or something else uh just kills a lot of people. And so chicken uh is is illegal. Uh and the FDA is now the most powerful law enforcement agency
Oh.
in the US. And this the main character, his name it's is Tony Chu, CHU, and he has this ability, and he works for the FDA as an investigator, and he has this ability to, whenever he eats something, he sees its entire life. So like he actually the only thing he can actually eat is beets basically, because like but he also uses this like and it's this wild story. And I've read the first like in comics they collect storylines in what are called trades. You know, so like collected editions that are like one part of the story arc. Um, and I've read the first one or two of this, and like, and he ends up meeting someone, or well, he ends up falling for this food journalist that is so effective at at describing food that he can taste it sort of vicariously, and so he like falls for her because he can't actually eat anything besides beets. And it's like this I don't know, um it's a very interesting sort of take on comics and an idea of like superpowers, because a lot of the superpowers in this world are around food and around like this human experience that we all have of having to eat things, but in this weird sort of off kilter angle. Um, the 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 artist and writer, his name is Rob Guillory, um, and uh, it's just a for whatever reason the way you described how he described food uh, reminded me of that. And now I want to. I dropped off of it, and now the story's done. So like the whole
Oh, it's been
story
published.
arc is, yeah, it's fully published. So now it reminds me I need to go
You
back
can
and
binge it
actually
now.
finish it. Yeah, uh, just log into Hoopla or Libby or whatever and get it from the
Yeah.
library and finish it off.
Yeah, nice. We made this like a food music episode.
We did, yeah. Yeah. So, so yeah, that's my pick. It's not something I'm reading recently, but I'm just going with the vibes. This is
Yeah,
the
yeah. I mean, if we're gonna do this for a while, eventually we're gonna run out of books that we're reading, and I mean, I'm not as prolific a reader anymore as I used to be.
uh
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
I'm
I
usually
mean,
reading one or two, but
that's enough.
they're not
That's enough.
always
That's
they're
great.
not always worth talking about too. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them you don't finish, and that's okay.
yeah. Oh my God, like I think I've mentioned before, I started so many classic Christian books and never made it through the first chapter.
Oh yeah.
It's just,
Well, I don't fault you for
it was
that.
it's a bad sign or a good sign for my
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, well, did speaking of Christian books, did in your whole journey through evangelicalism, did you ever have to read The Heart of the Artist? Did you ever read that?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's like a book for like worship leaders and stuff. I think it was written by uh um one of the worship leaders at like Willow Creek, which is a big mega church around here
Yeah,
in my area, Bill Hybels
yeah,
Church. Um, anyways, he like there were some interesting sort of concessions and moments of honesty in that book where essentially is like, yeah, some Christian art kind of sucks. Like,
wow,
because you're trying to shoehorn in some redemption arc or like really shitty shallow redemption arc.
yeah.
You know?
In three
Like there
chords
was
and with a lot of repetition. Yeah,
yeah. Uh and it like sort of acknowledged it, but also is like, this is what we gotta do.
yeah. Sorry.
It was a strange book, and
Interesting.
like uh, and my youth worship team in high school had to read it and talk through it. So um, so yeah, I'm not surprised that you didn't get through a
It
lot of
was probably
Christian books.
after my time. There wasn't any. It wasn't like an industry in when I was coming up. It was still like
Yeah.
usually a volunteer was leading worship. Even at big churches, they weren't necessarily on staff yet. I think that happened in the '90s.
Yeah. Yeah, this book came out like in 99.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. I was way done with anything to do with music and Christianity by then.
oh, wow, you dodged so much.
I know. Well, but it hurts me now because I do this podcast and people will mention a band that was huge in the '90s, and I'm like, yeah, I was a Christian at the time, but I wasn't listening to any Christian music.
Yeah, but you still had taste.
Well, that's debatable, but I didn't like Christian music, and apparently I missed like
Uh,
the height of CCM. So
well, yeah, a lot of bands that were very formative for people were definitely like late 90s, early
yeah, yeah,
2000s for
that
sure.
was like the height, and then it just all became worship music. So anyway,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah,
we should have
yeah.
Leah Payne come on.
Yeah, we should
Her and
absolutely.
Andrew
She,
do the
yeah,
Rock That Doesn't Roll podcast.
yeah,
That'd be fun to talk
yeah,
to. Putting it out there,
absolutely.
Leah and Andrew.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I don't know. How do we put a button on this, Scott? This has been great just to catch up
Yeah,
because we've
this is our catch
we've
up
been
that we are sharing with the world, and
yeah, yeah.
uh, well, just yeah, come get in touch with us. Come talk to us about books. Save us from ourselves. Otherwise, it's just going to be jazz talk for the next 6 months.
Then Scott has to write a new theme song, and we have to
Oh
change
shit,
the
yeah.
title and all this other
I
stuff.
can't. I don't play
Uh,
jazz well. I like listening to it, but it's yeah. I'm not. I don't have the chops.
yeah. Well, yeah. Come talk to us. Send us an email at talkaboutTextPod. I think that's. I'm not getting that wrong, am I?
That sounds right.
Yeah, talkaboutTextPod at
Probably a
gmail.com.
link in the show notes.
Yeah, link in the show notes, and I did just double check. That is
All right.
correct. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. I'm Blake.
Oh, and I'm Scott. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Talk to you later.
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Let's Talk About Text with Blake and Scott. That's me. If you're interested in coming on to talk about a book that you've really loved or that you're reading right now, let us know. Reach out to us at talkabouttextpod@gmail.com. Hope to hear from you, and we'll see you next week.